Hi, it's Book Chick again, and I am here to talk to you about my January TBR. It is still in progress, and it is the 29th. So yeah, I'm not gonna finish it. There's no way. But we're gonna talk about the books that I did finish, and then at the end, I'll talk about the ones that I have yet to finish that I'll hopefully get to eventually. So the first one that I finished, and I don't have all of these in hard copy, the first one that I finished was the Splendid and the Vial. I listened to the audiobook. I will try to remember to add the cover above. This is an audiobook by Erik Larson. If you don't know who Erik Larson is, you might know him. He wrote The Devil in the White City, which is about H.H. Holmes. The Splendid and the Vial is about the Churchill family, the PM of England there for a while, and but this is specifically talking about World War II. So everything that Churchill did in order to, stop the war, and hopefully win it, all of that stuff, everything that he did to kind of help that along. So hence the Splendid and the Vial. The Vial is obviously the war. Churchill is also a very abrasive person, so I guess you could also call him kind of vile. But he lived a really extravagant life. There was one passage in the book where there was an air raid on, I think it was on Downing Street, and he, his staff, came and got him and, told him, sir, you need to go down to the bunker. And Churchill proceeded to, pace the garden for several minutes before finally going into the bunker. And all the while, I think it said he was in, a gold dressing gown or robe with dragons on it. So that's kind of, I thought that was really funny. Churchill is, I think, one of my favorite politics in history. I think he was just a character and a smart one, and I'm sure he made mistakes. I mean, this book mentions several mistakes, but he also did some really fantastic things, and he really cared about his staff and his family. So I went ahead and gave this 5 stars because I loved it, and I felt it was very educational, but also at times very funny, because he would do things there would be an air raid, and like I said, he would pace the garden until someone was like, sir, you really need to go in the bunker. He would just do stuff like that. So, but anyway, I loved that. The audiobook was awesome. I'm sure that the reading it would be a kind of different experience. I might like it more even. But the audiobook was fantastic. The next book that I finished was A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I've been working on that one for a while. Finally finished it this month. It was so good. I believe I already talked about it in a different video, but I enjoyed this so much. It was just so good. Like I said in my last video, it rivals Harry Potter. It does. It really does. You might think I'm crazy, but it rivals Harry Potter. So basically we follow Galadriel, who, they call her Elle, but she is, our main character. She is a female, which is different than Harry Potter, but she is, one of the most powerful wizards in the school. The school is the Scholomance, and it's where all the wizards send all their kids, from all over the world. This is the only wizard school for the entire world in this series. So everyone sends their kids there, and they, fight to get in, because even though, the school itself is trying to kill you, and monsters do get in and try to kill your kids, it is still the safest place for your kids to be, because it just is. Otherwise, they might, be at some random place, and the monsters might find them there, and then you know, there's nothing they can do about it. But at least at the school, like, they have safety in numbers. But at the same time, like, the only way you get to leave is if you live long enough. And you have to, like, literally fight your way out. Like, that is you graduating. You're fighting your way out, out the gate. So there is also, like, a lot of murder and a lot of, like, really creepy, sketchy stuff that happens. Like, people will murder each other so that, you know, they get a better room that's further away from the monsters, who they call Maleficaria. But this, it was like a 5-star read for me. Most of the books that I read this month, I really, really loved. In fact, I think all of the ones I finished, I really loved. So, again, 5 stars. But the world building in this, Naomi Novik always does a fantastic job world building, and this was no exception. Like, it was just 5 stars all around. It was amazing. So definitely give this a read if you enjoy, like, dark fantasy, like dark academia, you know, that kind of thing, and, like, obviously witches and wizards. Also hate to love romance, so if you like that, then you might check this out. And there is a second book coming out in July, I believe, so I'm super excited for that. I'm sure you'll see it at some point when it's finally out and I can purchase it. The next book that I read was Alone by Megan E. Freeman. This is actually a middle grade book, and I would classify it as, like, a dystopian novel, and it was, like, parts of it were written in verse, which was really interesting. I gave it 4 stars because, like, it was good. It was really good, but, like, I was on the border of, like, should it be 4 stars or should it be 5 stars? Like, and I think part of that is just that I'm not the intended audience. Like, I loved it, but it was still, like, I don't know. I don't know if it was 5-star quality. But, so I gave it 4. But basically, we follow Maddie, who is a little girl who lives in Colorado, I believe. And she is, like, 12 years old at the start of the book. And everyone has been, like, kind of muttering about this threat, and but, like, this is very much, like, it's set in present day, so I don't understand why they didn't, like, tell her what was going on. I guess that was her parents' choice, but everyone is talking about this threat, but she doesn't know what the threat is. Like, they aren't even saying on the news, and she doesn't really care anyway, because she's like, it's fine, whatever, like, life is good, everything is perfect. And so she lies and, like, plans this secret sleepover with 2 of her friends, and she's going to use her grandparents' apartment because they live in, like, the South for, like, most of the year, and then, like, only come up to see them in Colorado every now and then, but they still have an apartment. So that she lies and says that she's going to her dad's house and tells her dad that she's going to her mom's house because they're divorced. So she's like, perfect cover. They won't question that. And so she goes, and they're supposed to have this sleepover at her grandparents' empty apartment. But her friends cancel, and she just decides to stay there. And so she stays up late, you know, eating junk food, watching movies, normal teenage stuff. And she wakes up in the morning and, you know, flips on the news, and she's eating her cereal and watching the news and everything, and they're talking about how the threat has come and it's time to evacuate. She's like, wait, what? And so then she, like, checks her phone, and she has all these voicemails from her parents about, like, not to worry, and it'll all be okay, and they'll all meet up when they get wherever they're going, wherever they have to be taken to evacuate, and, like, texts from her friends about, like, oh, I hope we're on the same bus and everything, because they're supposed to be evacuating. They won't even let people take their cars. They're, like, loading everyone on buses and taking them somewhere, but she has no idea where. And she realizes that all of these like texts and voicemails are time-stamped, like, a couple hours prior to her waking up. So she's like, crap. So she hops on her bike and she pedals across town as fast as she can, and the buses are gone. And she's like, oh no. So she starts trying to call everyone, and then she hears this ring from these barrels and realizes that there are hundreds of cell phones just dumped in these barrels that people had been made to leave them behind. So she's like, well, crap. So she dumps her cell phone because she's like, maybe they're part of the threat. Logical. And she bikes to her mom's house to see if maybe they're still there or if they got left behind too, and they aren't. They were on a bus apparently. And so then she goes to her dad's house, same thing. And so then she's like, well, what do I do? Like, I don't know where they went. I can't go find them. So she just decides to stay, because that was her dad's advice always. If you get lost while camping or something, stay put until you're found. Logical. So she stays put, and she winds up rescuing like the neighbor's dog, and it's just her and the dog, whose name is George. He's a Rottweiler. Perfect name for a Rottweiler. It's just her and George against the world now, because they have no idea what's happening out there. Like, they live in like a super small town, so she, feels pretty safe. And they wind up surviving like wildfires, flooding, tornadoes. They have to like figure out how to get enough food to survive winter, because it's Colorado, like it snows a lot. So she has to figure out how to survive. She even survives looters at one point, because it becomes very clear to her that they are not good people, and she thinks about going with them, but then she sees something and she's like, nope. But she winds up being alone in this small town in Colorado for 4 years before anyone finds her other than the looters. Like, just, oh my gosh, it was a sad book, but it was also like really good. And I would say it's also like a coming of age novel, because she had to like figure out how to live and like really grow up a lot. So I gave it 4 stars, but I'm on the border, but it was really, really good. So definitely check that out if you want, and I'll leave all the Amazon links below if you would like to purchase any of these. The next book that I finished was actually a Book of the Month book. I've already done a separate review for this book because I could not stop gushing about it. So I knew that the entire video would wind up being about this book, and that is The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins. So if this looks interesting to you, basically it is a Jane Eyre retelling, but you'll have to go watch the other video, because otherwise this video will be forever long. So yeah, but I am running out of time on this video, so if you enjoyed this, go ahead and hit like and subscribe, and I'll do a part 2 on the books that I have yet to finish. So go ahead and hit like and subscribe, that really helps me out. All the Amazon links for these books will be down below, and I'll see you in the next one. So